Hello, I'm Bernard Norcott-Mahany. I'm your instructor in classical mythology. So first of all, welcome to the class. Um, this is a short-term class. It's only lasts seven and a half weeks or so. Everything's sort of crammed in here to get through the material in the textbook, Lisa Maurizio's Classical Mythology in Context. Because of that, there are a couple things in this class that are special to this class. I usually have an extra reading. That, of course, it won't be part of the class because there isn't time. The second thing is it's very important that you get just about everything done. In the longer term classes, I drop more of the lowest number of the lowest scoring assignments, which means in a full 16-week class, you can miss like a couple weeks worth of material with no real effect. Here, it's really only 1 week. If you miss more than that, then you're really going to take a ding in your score. So, just want to get that out front, right away because that is sort of important. I think you can learn a lot in the class, but because there isn't much time, it does mean you have to work all the harder. The first thing that you need to do, and you need to do it by tomorrow, is you need to go onto the website, the Canvas website, get into the class. There is a bulletin board in which you will introduce yourself to the class. Some people have already done this. I did open the class early. I sent an email, and some people took advantage of that. But introduce yourself in a paragraph or so. Why you're in the class, what you like to do, that sort of thing. Then you need to reply to one fellow student. Once you've done that, you've completed the assignment, and you will get full credit for that. And that's true for the bulletin boards in general. That once you make your posts, unless the posts are basically empty or you have really nothing that you say in them, they're full credit things. So this is one area I would say don't miss the bulletin boards because it's one chance for you to get like 100% in one area, and that will help your grade. Second of all, read the syllabus. The syllabus is there. There's a link to it, and you can read it through. And then do the orientation quiz, which is a 20 point multiple choice quiz on the syllabus. So you can actually open the syllabus if you print it out or something like that, and you can take the quiz and sort of like just go through the syllabus that way. That's fine. You can take it more than once, but because it's due tomorrow at 11:30, the 22nd tomorrow at 11:30 p.m., you don't have a lot of time. So you really, get to this as soon as possible. Again, short-term class, we need to sort of rush things a little bit. The material from Maurizio's Classical Mythology in Context that you are responsible for are chapters 1 and 2. Now, chapter 1 is just a general introduction, and you don't necessarily need to read that. Chapter 2 is going to have a lot more information in it, and you should read that. Now, I understand sometimes people have trouble getting the book. They wait until the last minute. There aren't any more copies of the books at the bookstore. You can get it on. You can get an online version of the book. That's one option. You also can get it through Amazon or something like that, and you can rent it. Which will be less expensive than paying full price for it. But if you don't have access to the book, what I would recommend that you do is in the announcements there are slideshows on chapters 1 and 2. And so you can go through those slideshows. Now, when I recorded them, whatever the software was, the sound every now and then goes out. But you can see the slides, you can see the information, and you can follow most of what I say. I admit it's sort of a problem, but short of my re-recording all of the slides, it's not. There's not much that you're going to miss by using the slides that are currently there. because I would need different software. I mean, the problem was the software. So if I do the slideshows, I need to, do them at the college or something, and I haven't yet get around to doing that. The main thing in chapter 2 is the text of Hesiod's Theogony. This is a 1,000 or so line poem. It would have been performed, so it was not meant to be read quietly, but it was meant to be performed by a teller at festivals. If you don't have your book, then what I would suggest that you do is, if you look at the modules, like when you open up the class, you should be open up to the modules page. But if not, there's a link to modules and you can click on that. But if you go to the module for chapter 2, you'll see a thing that says text of Theogony, like with annotations, I think is what it says. If you click on that, it will open up a PDF file that has the entire text of the Theogony with my notes on them. So my notes are set up as footnotes. I did this for all the classes in case people wanted to read those, because they would also have my notes, which may help you figure stuff out. Because Hesiod is telling his stories to an audience that knows the story already or knows a lot of it, so he can skip over a lot of stuff. I mean, if we see a movie, a Batman movie, and Alfred shows up, we know who Alfred is, right? Because Alfred's been part of our culture for a long time. But if you hadn't read the Batman stuff before, then Alfred would be like, who's that guy? So at any rate, you can do either one. Look at the Theogony in the book, or look at my PDF of the Theogony with my notes. And a very brief word about Hesiod. Hesiod was an oral poet. That meant that he did not write. He sang his songs in performance. And these oral poets not only knew a lot of stories, but they also had a special language that was made up not of individual words, but of phrases and even of whole sentences and even whole paragraphs that they would use to put stories together. So they had like these prefab sections that would fit together to tell a story. They could, in a sense, each time they told a story, it would be slightly different, depending on the audience. Now, what we have is a text of the Theogony. Hesiod lived in Boeotia, that's Boeotia, Boeotia, in the 8th century BCE, so the 700s. Homer lived around the same time. Homer seems to have lived on the Greek Isles off the coast of Greece. We don't know who these guys are. Hesiod tells us stuff about himself, but whether that stuff is actual or whether that is something that he's simply using to provide credentials in the story, that we don't know. Like, for instance, in the Theogony, Hesiod will say that the muses appeared to him, and he will describe that interaction. Well, did the muses actually appear to him? If you believe in the muses, he may have had some sort of experience where, I mean, I know people who, I grew up Catholic, and I knew people who are Catholic who have these flashes of where they think they're being contacted either by God or by, like, their patron saint in some way. So could that have happened? Yeah, that could have happened. But the way he describes it, it would not likely have happened that way. And besides, it would not have happened to him as an adult. He would have grown up as a boy and in his teens learning how to be an oral poet. I mean, you basically would have to be an apprentice. So whether the story is true in some way or not, it's not true in the particulars that Hesiod tells us. So we don't know really that much about Hesiod himself. The work itself was copied down, was committed to writing maybe in Hesiod's lifetime. If so, it would have been at the end of his life. But it also could have been written down even 100 or more years later by people who were in that tradition. In other words, there were people who Hesiod trained who would have continued those songs. and Hesiod would have got the credit for those songs, even if the version that got written down was not Hesiod's own, but was a follower of Hesiod. What the Theogony, the work tells, is it tells the story of the birth of the gods and the rise of Zeus. So the key thing is it's the rise of Zeus. That's, if there's one big takeaway from the Theogony, it's that Zeus is now the king of the gods. Zeus is not going to be overthrown. Zeus is very smart and cannot be tricked. Right? Those are the sort of like key takeaways. So I'm going to have to head off, but I hope you enjoyed the class and enjoyed the reading.